Hello, everyone. I'm Adrian Alexander, Caribbean Regional Coordinator for Free the Slaves and co-chair of the Membership Committee of the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons. And welcome to another episode of Caribbean Connections. With me today is my amazing co-host, Dr. Cherisse Francis, and we're having an interesting discussion with Caribbean and global youth advocates in honor of International Youth Day. International Youth Day was observed on the 12th of August, and this year's theme is Different Contexts, Common Aspirations. And you'll hear that really played out in our conversations today. Different contexts, different countries, different cultures, but common aspirations in terms of promoting human rights and addressing the very horrific issue of trafficking in persons, whether that be manifesting in child labor situations, forced labor situations, or even in the realm of sport. So allow me to introduce our guest today. Dr. Cherisse Francis is an educator, researcher, lawyer, human rights advocate, and consultant from Barbados. A former alternate CARICOM Youth Ambassador, she's now a senior lecturer in law at St. Mary's University in Twickenham in the UK, where she's also mentored students. From 2019 to 2020, Cherisse served as Judicial Research Assistant to the Designated Trafficking in Persons Judge in the Belizean High Court. This led her to pursue her PhD studies examining anti-trafficking in the Anglophone Caribbean at the University of Warwick in the UK. She completed those studies in 2024. Cherisse is a founding member of the Caribbean Coalition Against Trafficking in Persons, serves on its leadership committee, and co-hosts the radio segment Freedom Matters, which airs every month on WFM in Grenada. Also joining us is Ms. Amina Adji. Amina is an international relations professional and youth engagement specialist committed to advancing human dignity through advocacy, partnership building, and youth empowerment. As program manager of Mission 89's Youth Ambassador program, Amina has led the design and delivery of the organization's global youth initiative, engaging young leaders across the United States, Canada, Mexico, Sri Lanka, and Morocco to promote safe sporting environments and to prevent sport trafficking. Originally from Cameroon, Amina brings an African perspective to issues of sport trafficking, migration, youth vulnerability, and safeguarding. Her international experience across France, Spain, and the United States has shaped her understanding of trafficking and migration across the Global South and the Global North. She works with UN agencies, IOM, government institutions, academic partners, and civil society organizations, and is fluent in English, French, and Spanish. Welcome, Amina. We also have Ms. Judy Sango. Judy is a remarkable 25-year-old native of Dominica who epitomizes resilience and unwavering passion in the field of disability advocacy and leadership. A former child special athlete, Judy encountered bullying and discrimination in childhood due to her disability. She remained undeterred and used her setbacks as a catalyst for excellence. An author and law student, Judy holds many national, regional, and Commonwealth leadership positions. These include being the youngest president of the Dominica Association of Persons with Disabilities and the founder of the regional group Youth with Disabilities Connections, where she spearheads initiatives to advocate for disability rights and accessibility. Ms. Victoria Mendoza. Victoria is a business administration student at Tecnológico de Monterrey with a strong interest in leadership, community engagement, and youth-driven social impact. Growing up in the US-Mexico border region, Victoria developed an early understanding of cross-border dynamics and the role young people play in creating positive change. As a Mission 89 Youth Ambassador, Victoria contributed to raising awareness about human trafficking in sport through digital campaigns and community outreach connected to the recently concluded FIFA World Cup 2026. She's committed to pursuing a career in international business while continuing to support initiatives that promote education, inclusion, and youth leadership across borders. Mr. Richard Pinas is a dynamic leader and the male CARICOM Youth Ambassador representing Suriname. With a solid foundation in international business and management, Richard combines academic rigor with a deep-seated passion for social change. He's a prominent voice in national governance, having addressed the Parliament on 2 separate occasions to influence youth-centric policy. Beyond governance, Richard is a dedicated champion of climate action. He also lends his voice and platform to advocate against child labor, forced labor, and human trafficking at a regional level, which is committed to fostering regional cooperation and ensuring that the youth of Suriname are active architects of a resilient and prosperous future for the entire Caribbean. We're also joined by Master Bassam Murthasa, a 13-year-old Sri Lankan Muay Thai athlete who has been training since the age of 3. Known for his discipline and dedication, Bassam has represented Sri Lanka at international championships and is in recognition for his achievements at a remarkably young age. Beyond competition, Bassam serves as a youth ambassador for Mission 89, UTS, United Through Sport, and IFMA, International Federation of Muay Thai Associations, where he actively promotes youth empowerment, athlete safeguarding, and positive values through sport. So we have a well-rounded panel. We have some extremely youthful athletes and advocates here, and we really look forward to having an engaging discussion. So, Cherisse, I hand it over to you.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Adrian. Everyone, welcome to Caribbean Connections. Adrian, as always, it's a pleasure to be here with you and to have you keeping our ship sailing. Today, as Adrian said, is an extremely special edition, I think. And for me, it's a real pleasure as a former youth advocate myself. And I say that because I'm not sure that I can claim to be a youth anymore, but I'm young in spirit, so all is well. Today, we are going to be talking about different contexts, common aspirations, the theme for International Youth Day 2026. And a happy belated International Youth Day to all of you here on Caribbean Connections with me. We're so pleased to have you. And the conversation that we will have will reflect that theme. We'll be thinking about and talking about sports trafficking. It's an aspect of trafficking in persons that's oftentimes not talked about or thought about in as much detail as possibly should be lent to it. Because as we all know, sports is one of the things, much like music, that unites the world. And we saw that in the recently concluded FIFA World Cup. So we will be talking about that as an example. We'll be talking through Mission 89's involvement with that, but then we'll be thinking more broadly as to how the youth can be a part of the anti-trafficking, anti-sports trafficking efforts and really what their views are. And we'll bring that to the context of the Caribbean, we'll bring that to the context of the other parts of the world that we have represented today, and what collaboration and connection really can mean in those perspectives. So welcome to all of you. We have the youth ambassadors from Mission 89, and we also have some of our own, and I do say our own because we have now at CCATIP claimed Judy and Richard as some of the younger voices that you see featuring in much of the work that we do. So with that, I will just start to get the conversation rolling. And Amina, if you don't mind, could you start us off by telling us a little bit about Mission 89, your role as program manager, and a little bit of background as to what Mission 89 was involved in as it relates to the FIFA World Cup 2026 initiative?
Sure. Thank you, Cherisse. Thank you for that introduction. On behalf of Mission 89, thank you everyone for joining us today. And a special thank you to Free the Slaves and the Office of the National Reporter on Trafficking in Persons of Jamaica for bringing us together and for this important conversation. My name is Amina Adji, and I serve as the Youth Ambassador Program Manager at Mission 89. My work focuses on engaging and empowering young people to become part of the response to human trafficking in sport through education, advocacy, and also community-based action. So for those who may be less familiar with Mission 89, it is an international organization dedicated exclusively to addressing human trafficking in, through, and around sport. So what makes this work truly important is that sport is not separate from the wider realities of trafficking. Athletes, aspiring athletes, young people, and others connected to sporting environments can face specific vulnerabilities, particularly when recruitment, mobility, promises of opportunity, and power come into play. So Mission 89's work is grounded not only in advocacy, but also in research. So the Global Thematic Report on Sport Trafficking represents an important contribution to understanding how trafficking intersects with sport, and also to building an evidence base for a stronger prevention and policy responses. So this research has also contributed to the evidence informing United Nations Resolution 78/288. The FIFA World Cup 2026 provided another important opportunity to translate that knowledge into action. So through the Youth Ambassador program, young people across multiple World Cup host cities were equipped with knowledge, the tools, and the confidence to raise awareness about trafficking in sport trafficking, and promote safer sporting environments within their communities. The idea was not simply to, speak about young people, but to make them active participants in prevention. And this conversation is particularly meaningful because Mission 89's engagement in the Caribbean did not begin today. There is already an established relationships with ONRTIP Jamaica, because in July 2025, Mission 89 representative Lerina Bright and Dr. Monique Emser participated in conversation on trafficking, on masking the game by the ONRTPs in Jamaica, where they shared the global thematic report and its key research findings. So that engagement is an important part of the foundation on which today's conversation builds. So the formalization of Mission 89's partnerships with Free the Slaves through the MOU also reflects a broader commitment to working across the CARICOM region and strengthening regional approaches to trafficking prevention. So it recognizes that sustainable solutions require organizations to bring together different forms of expertise, regional knowledge, policy experience, and community perspectives. So ultimately, that collaborative approach is at the heart of what we are discussing today. Preventing human trafficking in sport, preventing sport trafficking cannot be the responsibility of one organization or one sector alone. It requires governments, civil society, researchers, sporting organizations, and young people to work together. So this is why I'm particularly pleased that this conversation brings together Mission 89, Free the Slaves, and our youth ambassadors together, so we can explore not only how trafficking manifests in and around sport, but also what prevention can look like when it is informed by research, strengthened through partnerships, and driven by the voices of young people. So with that, I would suggest, we begin by looking at why sport trafficking deserves greater attention, particularly within the Caribbean context. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Amina. And if I could, just as you mentioned that that's where we should begin, if I could stay with you for a minute, just tell us the definition, How would you define it? Amina?
Hello. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
So if you had to give us a definition as to what trafficking in sports looks like, what would you say?
Okay, there are many layers, dimensions to sport trafficking, but we have identified that there are definitions for trafficking in sport, through sport, and around sport. And we think that trafficking in sport is more like exploiting athletes inside the sport system, via fraudulent recruitment, stolen passports, and abusive contracts. And trafficking through sport is more like using sport structures, fake scholarships, or club fronts as a logistical corridor or cover for illegal migration, and often money laundering. And trafficking around sport refers more to exploiting vulnerable populations for forced labor or sex trafficking linked to the economic environment of mega sporting events.
Thank you so much for explaining those three layers for us and for that context. And then if you could give us an idea, what are some of the common misconceptions as it relates to trafficking in sports?
Yeah,
Amina, were you
sorry.
able to
Can
were
you
you
can you
able to hear the
repeat that?
question? Yes. If you could give us an idea as to what are some of the common misconceptions around trafficking as it relates to sports.
Yes. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. I realize you're having some internet challenges, some
Yes.
delays
Yeah.
or so. Yeah,
Yeah.
but we can
Okay.
see and hear you clearly.
Oh, okay. Okay. Maybe it's better now. So yeah, we do have myth and realities, also aspects in the report that we have produced. So some myths are that mega events create massive surges in new trafficking victims, but the reality is more like trafficking is chronic, and structural, and victims are um, exploited long before an event begins. And another myth I would say is that traffickers kidnap strangers in host cities, but it's more like in the reality, it's more like exploitation involves people the victim already knows. Uh, so they are close members, like family members, it could be friends or trusted partners. And the last myth I can highlight here is no trafficking in sport only means illegal sex trade around stadium, but trafficking in sport especially involve fraudulent recruitment of young athletes, abusive contracts, and physical or sexual abuse by coaches within the athletic system itself.
Thank you so much, Amina, for that context. And now I want to bring it into a Caribbean context for a little bit. So, Richard, if I could ask you, as a CARICOM Youth Ambassador, have you encountered sports trafficking as an idea? And even if you haven't, what do you think, or why do you think that these issues are particularly relevant for the Caribbean and for sporting communities? Richard?
Yes, can you hear me? Yes. To be honest, I haven't really encountered sports trafficking, but I've heard about it and what sports trafficking is doing across regions and also in our region in the Caribbean. Um, I think one of the reasons why people don't really address it in, I will talk about Suriname, is because people don't really know about it. I don't really hear awareness or see awareness programs around sports trafficking in Suriname. The first time I heard about it was on the Honorable Adrian Alexander's podcast, or he introduced the this subject to me. So then I went, I did my own research on it, and then I saw that, oh, it's really something that's been going on for a long time. And also, we've just had the World Cup sports, and we can strongly believe that also around that sports trafficking, um, people were engaged in that. So I think that we should bring more awareness to people around the region to be aware of what's really going on and to educate them on the risk of sports trafficking. I think that um, if we do that, then the awareness will be not only um, not only will those people know about it, but they will also know what to do about it, how to prevent it from happening. And also one thing, because right now, um, I have an assignment from the Caribbean of CARICOM to hold a how do you call it, a webinar in November on on youth involved in crime, youth. Give me a moment. Youth in crime prevention, to prevent youth from committing crime. And I went to the justice minister to talk about this with him, and I also raised the subject of sports trafficking. And then he told me that these are things that are not usually talked about. As I said, we don't. I didn't. I never heard about it. To be honest, I never heard about it. And to learn that there are many young people that are being trafficked this way, I was very shocked. And I think it's something that we should take more seriously. And if we do that, we will encounter many things in the region where some institutions are doing that, and how to prepare better laws um, to how do you say it, uh, to eliminate it, to eliminate it, or to reduce this from happening. So I think more awareness is important in the region. We should talk about it more often. And I want to thank Adrian's organization for keeping the conversation going. And it's shedding a light on it in Suriname and also in the region. So the fact that I've learned about it, I'm continuing to talk about it more often now. Because if I didn't hear about it, I would never be able to raise it somewhere else. And when I raise it, I see other people are looking shocked because they really never heard about it. So I believe that the awareness is important, and I think it has begun. I don't know about your country, Cherisse, whether you guys also you already started with the awareness about sports trafficking. So, but in Suriname, the awareness is coming. I think maybe I'm the one who has to push it.
I love that, Richard. I love that you're taking ownership of this issue as you do so often with so many things. And that's exactly why we're here, because the awareness is low across the Caribbean. I agree with you. I don't know that Barbados, which is originally my country, has started
Yeah.
with much awareness around this. But Mission 18 has been doing some work and advocacy and youth ambassadors into the conversation as well. So Bassam and Victoria, this next set of questions is for you. I will start with Bassam. So I just want you to talk to me a little bit, Bassam, about your journey as a youth ambassador for Mission 89. Did you know about sports trafficking before you became an ambassador? And what surprised you most about your training as a youth ambassador?
So before joining Student Line, I know that human trafficking was a serious problem around the world, but actually I didn't know how it could be connected to sport. So as an athlete, I usually was taught about training, competitions, traveling, and achieving my goals. So I didn't think enough about the risks that young athletes could face in different countries. So we can some African countries. So, in even in the FIFA World Cup, there are many Africans. So, also through the Mission Identity program, I learned that sports can sometimes create opportunities for people to take advantage of the young athletes. So that really changed the way that I looked at sport. So I realized that being a good athlete is not just only about performance. It's we need also to understand our rights, recognize risks, and know who we can trust to ask for help.
Thank you so much. And if you wanted to tell me a little bit more, why do you think it's important that young people understand these issues?
Actually, yes, now young people are an important part of sport, and we need to know how to protect ourselves and our friends. So sometimes young athletes can be very focused on achieving their dreams. So if someone promises them a big opportunity, they may just trust the person without asking enough questions. So I think education can help us recognize risks before something happens. We should never be afraid to ask questions and speak to our parents and coaches and teachers and the trusted adult when something doesn't feel right. So awareness can help prevent problems before they become serious.
Thank you so much. And I agree with you. I think one of the most important lessons my parents taught me was never be afraid to ask questions when something doesn't feel right. So I think that's extremely important. And for youth athletes and for young people just generally. So, Victoria, same set of questions for you. Did you know about sports trafficking before you became a Mission 89 Youth Ambassador? What was most surprising about your training? And what do you think is important for young people to know?
Honestly, in my opinion, in my personal life, I've never really heard about sports trafficking. I think it's very obscured by institutions. It has a lot of silence and public misconceptions that such a strong theme, while human trafficking is very spoken about, but does human trafficking in the sports sector not really. So I was really surprised and I was really interested about the topic because I wanted to know more. I really enjoyed being an ambassador. I learned a lot about how to become an agent of change. I learned how to deal with this situation, how to touch the theme and be more sensible about it with other people. And I also love to work with other peers that also could help me spread the message of awareness. And I believe the most important thing to remember is that as youth, we should acknowledge more these problems that we have in our society so we can take steps towards it in our early, adulthood. And I believe it's really important to eradicate it as soon as we can and to have a better society as a whole.
Great. Thank you so much. I think those are some really powerful words. I'm building on that. Judy, I want to come to you. Did you hear about sports trafficking before as a special athlete? But also, what do you wish you knew when you were a special athlete as a young person about sports trafficking or about potential vulnerabilities that you could face?
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here this afternoon. I think for me, I've never really heard of sports trafficking and trafficking on a whole until I met Mr. Alexander in 2024. Um, and this is the reason why I sit in so many of these two forums. Um, Mr. Alexander sort of roped me in from the time we met. But I think for me, I have always been one that has been cautious, and I've always been somebody who is aware of the vulnerabilities that exist, particularly for persons with disabilities, being someone with a disability myself. So I've always been aware that, it is easy for persons with disabilities to be taken advantage of. And so this was something that has always been at the back of my mind. But things I wish I knew when I was a special athlete um is just to how to remain safe. And I've sat in a few forums with Mr. Alexander, and all of the information that he gave, I really wish I knew, because it would not have just been beneficial to me, but to those whom I played sports with and I interacted with. So all of what I know now, I wish I knew then. It would not have been beneficial just to me, but to someone else as well. Thank you.
Much for that, Judy. And I believe that Adrian won't mind me speaking for him as well to say we're so glad that Adrian roped you in and that you and Richard and the other young people who are now on the call, that we will be able to bring you in to whatever we have going on in the future. Because once you become a part of CCATIP, we never let you leave. So that is a warning for those of you who did not know before. And Judy and Richard have now experienced that joyfully. So I want to stay with this idea of young people being a part of the conversation and generating solutions as well as having ideas. And because of that, I want to look to the Mission 89 Youth Ambassadors program again. And I want to ask Victoria and Bassam, what inspired you to become a Mission 89 Youth Ambassador? And on that inspiration, looking back, what has been the most meaningful part of this for you? I'll start with Victoria as I started with Bassam last time.
I think the most significant part for me was to be able to share the message and to know more about the topic. Because now I have all the instruments and tools I might need if I ever face it directly. And it's really important to spread this awareness. I think it really surprised me a lot, the much amount of information that I was able to learn and understand pretty easily, actually. But again, it's not something that I would have learned by myself, or being exposed to something, I wouldn't have known how to act. So I think it's one of the things that most surprised me, that now I do know how to act. And I really think it's very important that we should also spread these instructions, this set of instructions, so not only some youth can know how to react about it, but more people in our generation.
Thank you so much. And if you could share with us, is there a particular activity or outreach as a part of this Mission 89 journey that has had a lasting impact on you?
I believe it was our promotion of information and what to do if an agent contacts you, but you don't know if their credentials are real or fake. I believe it was really interesting how to understand on which people you can trust and how many people are certified and who isn't certified. And I really loved how much interaction we had on our webpage, because the other guy that was running the page, in which we posted publications, stories, reels, a lot of things, we had 4.3K visits in a month. So we were really surprised with how much people actually engaged with the content and was able to inform themselves better.
Thank you for that. And social media and the internet, it just brings us all together. As we can see, we're all here from different communities, different parts of the world, different experiences, but we're able to share because we've got common aspirations. So I'm coming now to you, Bassam. Tell me, what inspired you to become an ambassador and what has been most meaningful for you?
Actually, as a young athlete, sport has given me so many opportunities. So I've been able to train, compete, and also meet people from many different countries and learn many things from them. So when I heard about the Mission 89 Youth Ambassador program, I felt that I could use my experience as an athlete for something beyond competitions and medals. So I wanted to learn more about human trafficking in sport because before joining the program, I didn't really understand how trafficking could be connected to sport. So, or either how young athletes could be vulnerable. So, through the program, I have learned that the importance of awareness and also the importance of prevention and speaking up when something doesn't feel right. So, also, the most meaningful part for me has been realizing that my voice can make a difference. So, when I'm already, oh, I'm very still young and I'm still learning. So, but I have understood that I don't have to wait until I'm an adult to contribute. So, being a youth ambassador for Mission at 9 has helped me become more confident and not only as an athlete but also as a young person who can encourage other young people to stay safe and use their voices.
Thank you so much. The next thing I wanted to ask you very quickly was if you had to tell us about an activity, similarly to how Victoria did, tell us something that had a lasting impact on you. And in the last time you spoke, it was a slight challenge hearing you. So if you could adjust the mic slightly, I don't know, turn the volume up to see if that would help, then we want to hear from you your experience. What is something that had a lasting impact on you?
So, actually, one of the things that has had a lasting impact on me is being able to take what I learned through Mission at 9 program and share it with other young people. So when you start talking about human trafficking in sport, I realize that many young people have never actually thought about it. So we usually think about sport as something positive. So like for example, training and competitions, friendships, and achieving our dreams. So we don't always think about the risks that young athletes could face. So that made me understand how important education and awareness are. So sometimes giving someone simple an information or helping them recognize risky situation or understanding when they should ask for help is a big help. So I did some awareness programs at our school and also some other schools. So when I talked with them, I understood that some of the students had no idea what human trafficking is. So they didn't know the warning signs or what we should do when we feel suspicious. So it also taught me that human trafficking doesn't have always have to be something big. So a conversation with a friend, a message at school, or sharing what you have learned with someone can make a difference. So for me, the biggest lesson has been that young people can help protect other young people. So we can learn together, look out for each other, and speak up when something doesn't feel right. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Bassam. And now I want to look to Judy and Richard and to think about youth leadership in the Caribbean and some of this engagement. So, Richard, in your capacity as a youth ambassador, I know you mentioned this idea of having the mandate to do the webinar or the seminar later in the year. Could you tell us a little bit about how you think youth leadership could contribute to awareness and responses to sports trafficking from what you've understood since we've had these conversations?
Yes, thank you, Cherisse. Most of the time when we talk about CARICOM Youth Ambassador, people think of us wearing suits, being in rooms with policy makers and all of those high level meeting things. But my work is usually on the ground. I have a team and we call ourselves the team with the boots on the ground. I love to work with young people, the grassroots, because I believe that change begins at the grassroots level. Um, One of the things that I've learned in life is that
I believe that we've temporarily lost Richard.
You
Oh, you're
lost me?
back. Go ahead. You're back now.
Yeah,
Continue.
yeah. The biggest or the most important thing about leadership I have learned is to serve. So it's all about serving my community or my peers. So I'm glad that I have this opportunity. Because before I became youth ambassador, I was also doing youth work. So when you become youth ambassador, you get the recognition and you get a bigger or a greater authority. You talk with more authority on the issues. Because now that I'm CARICOM Youth Ambassador, I believe that also opened the door for me to talk with people of the coalition against trafficking and all those kinds of things. So this position has put me in a better position to learn more about the issues that are happening on the ground and that most people don't even think about or see. So I believe that um, because I serve, because when you serve, you learn a lot. You become more involved in what's going around in your community. So by serving, you are learning more and you are making your community, you're making a better place for those around you, your peers. Because you know the problems with which they sit and you also know what to do and how to help them to solve those problems. So leadership to me is to serve. That's why I'm also on this panel because um, right now as I'm here sitting, it looks like I'm in a kindergarten. There's also sessions going inside. I don't know if you can see in that blue building there on the inside where we're talking about different issues with young people. So it's not about the name, it's not about the title, it's all about serving your community. And by serving your community, you get more knowledge and you can talk about the issues with more authority. So it this puts me in a better position to talk about the issues and also to come up with solutions.
Thank you so much. And Judy, just knowing you and meeting you has really broadened my understanding of inclusion, but also how it is that young people with disabilities want to be treated, deserve to be treated, and what it is that we come to you with think that young people with disabilities, aspiring special athletes or para athletes, how do you think that we as a community could practically engage in protection for these young people as it relates to vulnerabilities to sports trafficking?
Cherisse, can you repeat the question, please? I did not hear you.
Sure. How is it that we as a community, from your perspective, can aid in the protection, the inclusion of special athletes and youth with disabilities who are engaged in sporting activities?
Thank you very much. Firstly, I think protection of athletes in the world of sports trafficking starts with a conversation. And conversations involve meeting people where they are, um, and understanding things from their perspective. So I would say inclusive communication, communication that allows for a free flow of whatever it is we are discussing. So inclusive communication. Secondly, inclusion at the table when we are discussing policies. Too many times in my line of work as a disability advocate for the last 15 or so years, I have seen many conversations happen. But there's rarely ever persons with disabilities at the table, and this is what I try to do. So many may say I am in many spaces. My goal is simply to ensure that young persons with disabilities have a seat at the table, and that when we leave these rooms, when we leave these spaces, these conversations are able to be turned into plans and policies that affect people positively. Because too many times when we leave rooms, barely anything happens. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for this last round of rapid fire questions, I'm going to mix things up a little bit, and I will be asking ambassadors, Judy and Richard, as well as Bassam and Victoria, questions in a mix. So the first question will be for Richard and Victoria, so that you can prepare for this question. And the question is, why do you think that solutions to trafficking and other social issues? So why is it important? I'll start with Victoria.
I'm sorry, it cut a little bit. Can you rapidly repeat the question, please?
Sure. Why is it important for young people to help shape solutions to trafficking and other social issues?
Well, simply, I believe it's a moral obligation by everyone who is involved in our society. I think that if you have the chance to help, you should definitely do it. I think that empathy is one of the strongest tools we have as a society, and we should never neglect our neighbor because what if one day it's you, the one that's in problems, and you need help? You would want someone else to help you. So I believe it's really important to be present and acknowledge that in the world that we are today, it could be any of us. So we should really use our empathy. We should really use our information. We should be informed about what's happening around us. And we shouldn't be scared to not act. Because if we don't act, we're harming someone else by not acting. So I truly, really wish I could send out this message of act, be courageous, and do what you can to help someone near you or even far away. Because in the end, we're all of us together in our society, in our world. We should protect each other.
Thank you. I think those are some powerful words, and I wish that we all could adopt that idea of a global important for you as a young person from Suriname, from the Caribbean, from the world. Why is it important for young people to help shape solutions to trafficking and other social issues?
Yes, as Victoria just stated, it's we also have a moral responsibility, and we are agents of change as young people on this panel. So we all have a moral responsibility to look out for each other. We always say that the youth are the future, but we're also the present. So we should always look out for each other and try to protect each other always at any time. So when we get we get the knowledge of what is happening around us, we should take the necessary steps on how to stop this or prevent it from happening to other people. Because today might be you, tomorrow I might be in the same position. So we should work on protecting each other. We should always look out for each other, because as someone say, we are here for each other. If it's just as you have two legs, if one breaks, you have a big problem because we need both legs. So if the other person is in a situation in such a it's yeah in such a situation. Sorry for my English people. It's like you also have the same problem, so we always should look out for each other because it affects us all, because we are one big youth family.
Thank you so much, Richard. And one of my favorite sayings that you always say is there's nothing wrong with the Caribbean, and what is right with the Caribbean is its youth. And I think that applies to the world at large. It really is the young people that are the future, that are the now, that are the change agents. Many of you have used that term today, and I really enjoy it. So now I am going to come to Bassam and Judy. So Bassam, you are not only a youth athlete, but you're now an advocate. You are now a youth ambassador. What advice would you give to organizations that want to engage young people meaningfully? If you had 2 minutes with a leader of the big organizations, the big companies, what advice would you give them to say, listen, here is how you can meaningfully work with young people?
My advice would be don't just give young people to be part of the program. So don't just invite them to be part of the program. Give them a real voice in the program. So young people we all have our own experiences, ideas, and ways of communicating. So I think that sometimes we understand how or what other people are thinking, other young people are thinking or experiencing. So because we are going through many of the same things. So actually, I would encourage organizations to listen to young people and ask for opinions, and also give us opportunities to take responsibility. So they should not just ask young people to attend an event or to be in a photograph. They should just give them meaningful roles as in Mission 89 and other organizations, and they should give them meaningful roles where their ideas can actually influence something. So sometimes some young athletes or young people's ideas can influence great things. So at the same time, young people also need guidance and support. So we don't expect to know everything, because now give us knowledge and give us the training and encouragement and that we need, and then trust us to contribute. So actually, my Mission at Nine, my experience at Mission at Nine has shown me that when young people are given an opportunity and trusted with responsibility, we can grow in confidence and become better leaders. So I would tell every organization um, that listen to young people, trust young people, and also create opportunities for young people to lead. So we are not the leaders of tomorrow. We can be a part of creating a positive change today. So I would just tell any organization to make young athletes a part of them. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Judy, what's your elevator pitch? How do organizations meaningfully engage with young people?
A few short words. Let the youth lead. I think too many times we we want to engage young people, but we don't allow them the opportunity to do it themselves. And we are not telling the elders to step back and we will take over. It is okay to walk side by side with us, but allow the young people to lead. And sometimes when the young people lead, the older folks, they learn from us like we learn from them. So I say, let the youth lead. Thank you.
I love that. And I think that should be the mission statement of every organization. Let the youth lead. But because I want to make sure that our young people have the final word, Amina, I'm going to come back to you very quickly before I give the young people a minute each to tell us the one message that they want to leave persons who look at this podcast or listen to this podcast with. So I want each of you to think you've got 1 minute. What is the one thing you want to leave people with? Victoria, you might have to think again because you gave us some very powerful words in your last answer. But while you're thinking, I'm going to go to Amina. This conversation is just the beginning. You mentioned to us that there's collaboration going forward. You mentioned on our tip, you mentioned some other entities. But what does this collaboration in the Caribbean mean for you? What opportunities do you think are there for Mission 89? And what do you hope for the long-term impact of this to be?
Thank you, Cherisse. I hope that we keep working together to promote, safe practices and to prevent sport trafficking in general. And I dream about having a global youth ambassador program where we can connect you from Asia to Africa to Europe and etc. So that they will have specific a global message, and then specific message related to their own context. And also I would say that it is important that we keep reinforcing preventing sport trafficking, through research, collaboration, education, and always youth leadership, because we know that young people, as Richard said, is the present and the future. And we have to keep listening to young people to build the future, to envision what is coming our way. So, listeners, I would encourage you to continue learning, because a lot of people don't know what trafficking, sport trafficking, sorry, is. And please keep supporting safe sport initiatives and keep empowering young people to lead change within their own communities. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're now going to go to the young people in alphabetical order. We're going to start with Bassam. If you could take the mic and hold it to see if we could hear you a little better. What's the one message that you want to leave with everyone listening to this podcast?
Am I audible properly now?
Yes.
Okay. So actually, I think my message would be that don't be afraid to speak up. So if something doesn't feel right, we should not ignore it. We should talk about it to someone we trust. For example, your friends and parents, coaches, teachers, etc. So look after your friends, ask questions, and learn about the risks. So we all have a role in making sports safer. Athletes, coaches, youth ambassadors, so young people. We all have a role. So according to me, you don't have to be famous or powerful to make a difference. Even one young person speaking up can help protect another young person. I think
Is Judy frozen? Judy,
Are you
what's
speaking to me?
your one message?
I didn't hear you at all. Sorry about that. My message is continue to learn.
Yeah.
It is continue to learn, continue to grow, and spread the knowledge that you have learned so that somebody else becomes
Thank you.
involved. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Richard, to you. What's your one message on today's conversation?
To every young person listening, I would say you don't need a title to be an ambassador for your community. I would say turn off that extra light, protect your local environment, and let your voice be heard, because the future belongs to us. So let's build it together. Yes.
Victoria, over to you. What is your last message?
Well, basically, that as Amina said, that awareness creates protection. The more we understand the risk young people face in sport, the better we are equipped to prevent exploitation. I believe that young people are the future. We are part of the solution right now. And if we're informed and empowered and given a seat at the table, as Judy has said, we can help build a safer community and a safer sport for everyone.
Thank you so much to all four of you coming from different contexts, but having common aspirations and giving us a really strong conversation for this edition of Caribbean Connections. I will now pass back over to Adrian, who, as always, will give us a wrap up.
Thank you so very much, Cherisse. You did a great job. And despite a little technical issues here and there, this was a wonderful conversation. So I want to thank Amina and, of course, Larina, the founder and executive director of Mission 89, for making sure this took place. I want to thank Victoria and Bassam. It was lovely hearing you, getting that sense of your own excitement about the work that you're doing. And I trust that you're really passing that kind of energy and excitement on to your peers. I'm not sure if you are also an athlete, Victoria, but I know that Bassam, we mentioned that he's actually a champion athlete. So kudos to you. And this is relevant information even outside of the realm of trafficking in sport, right? Wherever trafficking arises, whether it's overt or whether it's in some sort of hidden area, especially within the area of forced labor. The UNODC's report from 2024 highlighted that for the first time globally, the number of identified victims of trafficking for forced labor exceeded those for sexual exploitation. So it means that it's a little more hidden, less overt, but as you utilize the resources, the training that you receive from Mission 89, ensure that you keep speaking about all forms, whether it's forced labor, child labor, trafficking in persons, or contemporary forms of slavery, because the Pact for the Future, which is where the UN agreed, I think it was like a unanimous decision, Cherisse, on the Pact for the Future. This is about ensuring that youth have a future. And one of the areas, if you look at Article 35, that actually speaks to the issue of youth being protected from modern slavery, trafficking in persons, forced labor, and child labor. We, the adults, the gray hairs, the no hair, we owe you a future where you can be safe, right? And that's our responsibility. But it's a shared responsibility because we're seeing more and more where youth are being, unfortunately, recruited to traffic other youth. So you have a voice in that space as well to raise awareness that it's not just an older person you have to look out for, but even your peers can be traffickers, right? And to highlight all of the information that you would have learned, but also in a context where your audience can understand it. So I applaud you, Richard, Judy. Always a pleasure working with you. And I know that we have so much more to do in our region. As Richard said, it's not a popular thing to talk about trafficking related to sport. We hear a lot about safeguarding. We hear a lot about the sexual molestation of athletes by coaches. Those are the areas that we hear a lot about, more so than the fact that migrant laborers may be trafficked and exploited in the construction of stadia years before the games actually happen in that particular country, right? And those are the realities as well. So we need to also be looking at it through that immediate lens of what happens around the event, but also the build up to that event. Once a decision is made to host international sporting events in any country, we have to look at that. And there was focus in the media for what happened in Qatar, the World Cup in Qatar. There was a lot of context to shared for Russia, usually a closed type of country in terms of media. But there were highlights about sex trafficking and the trafficking of people for forced labor around the games, as well as in the lead up to the games, with so much migrant labor being brought into the country, especially in Qatar, and exploited. So I applaud you for the work that you're doing. I really see in Amina and in Cherisse persons who can continue to mentor you as you develop as advocates, and you're already strong advocates, right? So kudos to you all. And as Cherisse mentioned, a belated Happy International Youth Day. All right. So that's it from me. And to our audience, this has been another episode of Caribbean Connections. So we encourage you to even do some research on our YouTube channel. Find the webinar series where we spoke about sport trafficking with Ms. Larina Bright of Mission 89. and really get a sense of what's happening in our region. Marina was there, Diane, Gordon Harrison from ONRTIP, the Office of the National Rapporteur on Trafficking Persons in Jamaica. So what we can do is ensure that as this video closes out, we will put a link to that webinar video so that you can follow up on those discussions. All right. So thank you so much, everyone, and have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye now.